Okay. Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you. Oh, thanks for hanging in there for me. Let me get my other glasses on here and let me get us focused. Well, this is okay. Good morning. Thank you for hanging out there for a minute. I'm so sorry about that. You know me. Hello, Deanna, right? I'm always screwing stuff up. I was in Massachusetts doing my book writing, like my retreat day overnight. And I realized I had, as I was driving back, my camera at the studio, but the book that we're reviewing at the house, which is a kind of a Bermuda Triangle kind of a configuration. So I'm so sorry about that. But this is what we wanted to do today. Start our second book contest sponsored by Rug Cooking Magazine. The book that we're looking at today and Monday is Hooked Rug Designs for Baby and Beyond. Have you seen this one yet? I have to say, I have not seen this one yet. And I think the thing is, when I became aware of it, my kids were like a little bit older already. But I have to say, it does have a lot of great, we're going to look at the designs today and Monday. This is by Norma uh, Battistini. It does have a lot of designs that are great for older kids too. So absolutely a grand book. Let's enjoy. And let's see, hopefully people find us here. I'm so sorry about that. I just didn't want to cancel it, right? So, moving to Gambia, good morning. Great to see you. Oh, if you didn't arrive early, you'd miss the videos. I hear that. I hear that. You get yourself plugged in and locked in, and then you're all set. April, great to see you. Spreading the word that I was running late, and thank you so much. And thank you to Jane, of course, for posting while I was driving because I couldn't update you that there was problems with traffic and I had to make the extra stop. It was a lot. Candace, good morning. Good to see you. April, good to see you. And Heidi, good to see you in Belgium. Now punching a drawing from your daughter when she was younger, a kind of storytelling. Absolutely that story. Absolutely that storytelling. Doing designs by kids are absolutely the best and also very appropriate today. Oh, great to see you. Sharon, hello in rainy, sunny, rainy Vancouver. There's a lot happening there, huh? The pendulum just keeps swinging, right? Oh boy, it sounds like it's sometimes a nice day there today. And Linda, good to see you. Joyce, good to see you. Good afternoon. April says it's beautiful and sunny in North Georgia. Well, that sounds just lovely. You know what I was trying to think of? I was talking last night about fried green tomatoes. I love that movie. I love that book. And when I was in the Carolinas, I rented a car to go out to Georgia, and of course, I went to Savannah, where I've been many times and love it. But I wanted to go to fried green tomatoes, and that's what I did with the car. And then I ended up going to um, what's that other? What's that other? There's another town. It's a small city. There's a historic house there. Something to do with a cannonball. Um, Help me out. What am I? Macon. Macon. Could it be Macon? I think it's Macon. But my question is, what's the town with the fried green tomatoes? Because I couldn't remember that. Juliet. Is it Juliet? This is how my brain works. What a beautiful state. That's what I meant to say. What a beautiful state. What a lot to do. So much variety. I remember this was years ago. I remember just driving around and finding the cutest little villages and driving over train tracks and finding old time, the kinds of places, like from a dream and in my lifetime haven't really existed where there's like a tiny, main street and there'll be like some kind of a pharmacy that says like RX or something, like old time. And you go in there and there's like a soda fountain right here, like with a marble, whatever, and all these beat up stools, with the red seats. And oh, that is just heaven. That's just heaven in my mind. Uh, so April, I'm going to come visit you. I guess that's what I mean. I'm going to have to come visit. Sharon says, Heidi, a friend sent you a comic book. When he was about 6, I'm thinking about punching it and giving. Oh my God, how great would that be? Now, are you thinking about punching it like it's like in rows, like all of it, or just taking some of the key plates? That is what an amazing kind of pop art project that would be, and so special. Be great as an actual rug too if it was really large. But then you wouldn't want to get it dirty, right? What a great idea. Keep us posted on that. That sounds amazing. And if you punch it, it'll go really fast, right? It really will go really fast. Kirsten, great to see you. Good morning. Margaret, sunny in Newfoundland, Canada. Too, but not very warm. We're going to get there. We're going to climb. We're climbing slowly, right? It's just another weird year. Great to see you, Margaret. Karen, great to see you in beautiful but clear Black Forest, Colorado. And Karen was one of the winners of the last book, Karen and Pamela Camp. So we're going to be looking for two new winners of this book, and those will be announced on Monday. Sue's, great to see you. Oh, there's more messages. Let's see. Linda H., great to see you. Dawn. Okay, everybody's logging on though. That's great. Gayla, Kara, great to see you. I know, Linda. It's true. Yeah, there's just a lot. I felt like a pinball this morning shooting around, and I got stuck in a construction traffic jam. It's the construction time of year, I guess. You can't drive anywhere without getting slammed with a construction project. And I'll tell you, when you've been sitting in traffic for that long, and then you see like one guy with a broom, you just want to get out of the car and like crack the broom over someone's face. But you don't do those things, right? Because we're like normal grown up people and whatever. So, whew. Lisa S., good afternoon. Great to see you. Whistle Stop Cafe, Dawn. That's it. That's it. Good morning, everybody. And Kara says from O'Fallon, Illinois. I don't know anything about that area. I'm going to have to check that out too. So let's see. Let me take a quick little sip here. It's pretty gray in Connecticut today. We'll see what it does, but it is pretty gray. You know, Pierre wrote, he's having a bit of a family emergency, so prayers go out to Pierre. His wife's aunt was not doing well. She's doing better now. So we're not going to be hanging the show tomorrow as planned. We're going to be hanging it Monday. So that's good because I know some of you have projects that are on their way. I noticed when I pulled up that UPS had dropped off a ton of boxes, and I'm assuming that they're all rugs because I haven't been shopping that much on Amazon. So I'll look at those as soon as I get home, but I didn't have any extra time this morning to check those out. Super looking forward to seeing those. And I'm going to be working over the Easter weekend on putting together QR codes so that when people go through the exhibit, they can literally just, and you know, this will probably work for you too. Wonder if this will work for you. Let's think about this because as we put up, I mean, it's a very full exhibit. It's much more full than I thought because he thought we'd have about, he was hoping for 30 pieces, like around 30. We have about 50 or more. And it's great because there's that much more great stuff to look at. Fantastic. Charter Oak Cultural Center next Sunday, April 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. is the opening. And it is a ticket thing. So make sure if you're coming that you go on the website for the Charter Oak Cultural Society. No, Charter Oak Cultural Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And I will certainly be there. But we're hanging the show on Monday. So I'm really looking forward to that. Oh, Kara, it's 30 minutes from St. Louis. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'll never be able to stop with that movie. Love it so much. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that because you know on Monday we normally would have okay, you see the problem. All right, so now that I think about it, okay, we're going to run this show. It's a lot. We're going to run this show starting looking at this, and I have the slideshow ready for that. Monday, I'll be hanging the show with Pierre. So on Monday, I will come to you live. Probably a little bit later, I'll do a pop-up live show. So make sure that you're subscribed so that you do get a notification that I have gone live. And I'll probably walk through the show with him for a while, maybe set up the camera as we work. That could be fun. I will be doing some content for Patreon people only. Patreon supporters, thank you so much, as always, for your support. I do have your design. I'm working on that this afternoon, getting that out. The design is done. It's my favorite one so far. So I will be doing a couple of videos while we're there doing the setup stuff. And then, of course, I will be filming on Sunday and taking photographs and doing all kinds of stuff for Facebook and Patreon. And I'll share that content here too the following week after the show is over. The show won't be over, it'll still be hung, but the opening will be over. So I've already documented everything and it will be great. So we will do something live on Monday. That's a big to be continued. And on Tuesdays, the Hook In with Kirsten. So be looking for that information in our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. And so on Wednesday, I will come back to you to finish this book and do the drawing of the 2 winners for this book. So a little bit skewered next week. Your question, if you would like to win this book, Juliet says, my rugs are en route. Hope they arrive in time. I'm sure they will arrive in time. Don't worry about that. And I need to get that designed to you. That's the thing for this afternoon, too. I have been just jam-packed. Do you know when the center is open for viewing? Their website is out of date. Oh, interesting. Let me ask Pierre, because he's on the board of directors there. That's how we weaseled our way in so quickly with a show this size. I'll find out, Juliet. I'll miss opening night, but hope to make the trek from Maryland. Let me know if you do, because I'll meet up with you. That'd be super fun. Gosh, what was I just going to say? Okay, so if you would like to win this book, like last time, send an email to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com, and in the title line, just write baby book, maybe just baby book, so that Jane can flag these specific ones, right? Don't put other stuff in the email, just baby book. And your question in the content of the email, right? If you write baby book, I know you're entering to win this drawing. 2 books are going to go out, sponsored by Rug Cooking Magazine. Answer this question. What was your favorite treat as a child? So it could be like a candy, it could be a soda, it could be a dessert, it could be whatever your favorite treat was. This is a good way of getting to know you, isn't it? It's a lot of fun. So put the answer to that with your address into the body of the email. I'll remind you again at the end of the show how to do that. All right. And Kirsten says virtual hooking will be Tuesday from 10:30 to 1 Eastern Standard Time, 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Everyone is welcome. Grab your work in progress and join the chat. And what a great way to learn, to have some company, right? I was going to say I'll log on if I can. And maybe I will. It depends on where we are with hanging the show. I always want to, but life is just a lot lately. Is this still, yeah, Sharon, I'm so sorry. They're all US only just because of the expense. Last time we ran a series of giveaways, it was a lot. Because for whatever reason, it was mostly Canadians who won. And they were like, wow, it's a lot for shipping, not being able to do the media. Right. I'm so sorry about that. We will do something special for Canadians soon, I promise. I'll figure that out. But let's look at the book a little bit. It really is a great book. And I have to say, I was quite surprised because I love the cover, right? And I can tell that there's a lot of sort of storytelling quality to this book. Let's open it together before we look at the first image. I was really surprised that there are so many lovely patterns in here that I was super attracted to. And I'm not a baby. I guess I'm beyond. Inspiration for a family heirloom, right? That's a great tag for a book like this. This is just a beautiful piece. Great storytelling pieces. I don't think I have this one up. We'll have to see where this falls in the book. But you can tell it's just going to be a lot of fun, the book, right? So let's just look at what the lay of the land is before I get going with specific. So it goes by chapter. And these are what the chapters are called. So maybe this is helpful. I'm just going to read the names of the chapters. Baby Makes 3. Nursery Rhymes and Songs. Bible Stories and Myths. 3D Animals, Dolls, and Toys, The Games We Play, Story Time, Children's Art, It's All in a Name, All Creatures Great and Small, Graduation Days, and Final Thoughts. It's fantastic, isn't it? What a great breakdown. So she gives us a great, oh my gosh, she gives us a great introduction. Look at this cute piece here. That's a nice little 3D sort of theatrical piece. And there's a quote here from Mr. Rogers. When we treat children's play as seriously as it deserves, we are helping them feel the joy that's to be found in the creative spirit. It's the things we play with and the people who make us play that make a great difference in our lives. Well, certainly he would know, right? He influenced most of us, I think, hugely. So let's look at some of these. Let me see. I didn't put this one in for some reason. I don't know why I didn't put this first one I'm looking at because that is so cool. Bear Tracks, it's called. No, Bear Paw Tracks. I'll give you the stats on that one. That one's just so cool. It has a bit of a log cabin feel for sure, right? A bit of like a quilty feel, kind of a pinwheel block. And then with the little bears. 22 by 38, that one was wool on linen, designed and hooked by Norma herself. And she's in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. So this was from 1996. This book is from, let's check that out. This book is from 2019. Now, the next page is the image that we were looking at. So let's look at this together. And This one is called Posy Cat. Oh gosh, isn't this great? Posy Cat. It's 30 by 22, so these are not like insanely big pieces. Really lovely. Signed by Norma. You can see 1996 also. Wool on monk's cloth. Now, this really is just gorgeous. I'll stretch it out a little bit in a minute, but don't you love the way that the cat is filled in? Almost looks like chenille, doesn't it? With like the oatmeal and then the lighter kind of vanilla color. Has kind of a saddle shape on the back. It really looks like a much older piece because it's color blocked the way that it is. It looks like she kind of ran out of colors. I mean, isn't it funny? It's probably tricky when you're working on something like this that you're trying to make look like there's a lot of color fading and a lot of changes over time. It probably feels like as you're, oh my heart, Posy Cat, Kirsten, I know it, right? It probably feels like as you're going along, you probably second guess yourself a lot. This is one of the key things I always talk about when I'm teaching. Just keep going, make a call later. You can't, with this craft, you can't really make a call as you're going along. It just doesn't work like that. Because it looks great. And look at the background. It's very color blocky too. Lots of great directional hooking. I love that honey color in the background. And I'm going to stretch it, but all of the berries and the flowers, all of those beautiful swirling pink flowers, using blues instead of greens. Isn't that interesting? Because blue against the honey color, which is like a variation on orange, orange and blue, right? Van Gogh colors, those are like opposites. So those would be great fighting across the color wheel and creating this kind of great drama color wise. And look at the whipping. Can you see on the edges how it's like a multicolored thread? It looks like she's using. Could be strips. It's hard to tell. I think it's probably thread because it's not a huge piece, but a bit of a multi. And it kind of echoes the feeling in those gray leaves, but also in the cat's body. Oh, it's just a gorgeous piece. It's just a gorgeous piece. I'm going to make it small again. Look at the handling of the flowers. This is something we talked about just now on the Design Like Vintage Vogue covers. The handling of flowers, back in the day, we were looking at pedulous type flowers, like just round flowers, or fairly shapeless, nondescript flowers that you couldn't assign to any specific plant at all. Just here's the shape, filling it in. The one on the top left looks like some kind of trumpet flower with like a cherry in the middle, part ice cream cone, part trumpet, right? I mean, so pretty. And the ones on the ground are kind of standing differently with their leaves fanned out. Really great composition. This just proves the idea that when you are laying out a composition, it doesn't have to be wildly busy and have a lot of frenetic energy happening. It can be a nice, simple design like Posy Cat with some flowers, just a few. But when you get in there and you start doing color variegated changes and making things look blocked and antiqued and things, you get all of these crazy color changes and it becomes very exciting. Very exciting. Absolutely beautiful piece. So that is Posy Cat. Oh, wow. Okay, let me flip and find this piece with you. She's got a whole section on copyright rules. And remember, whenever you have a copyright question in mind, it's not a bad idea to Google it anew because copyright law is always changing and it's different in every single country. So always worth, even though this is a fairly recent book, I would still just check because I know that since 2019, copyright law has changed in the U.S. and I think Canada too. I think they actually extended the line from death to proper usage. So yeah, just check that. I'm looking through some of the gallery stuff and it's all exquisite, but I am looking for frog, and there are some artist statements in here by some of the other people who contributed to it. So, for example, I'm going to hold on this for just a second because I'm at chapter 2, the nursery rhymes chapter. It says nursery rhymes and songs, right? And it says, Fred Rogers again, have you ever seen a baby bouncing up and down in the crib in time to some music? When you think of it, some of the baby's first messages from his or her parents may have been lullabies, or at least the music of their speaking voices. That's so true, isn't it? That's so true. Isn't it just magical how much we have built into us when we come hardwired with so much, right? And if you play on that, and if you sort of cater to that whimsy, to that sense of rhythm, to music, to song, to all of these sound cues, I think that's a great head start for kids. It's sometimes I even wonder, do my kids even know like nursery rhymes? I mean, I know they know some of them because we go to the amusement park in New Hampshire called Storyland, and they're all referenced there. But sometimes I'm like, Ring Around the Rosie, and they're like, no. And I'm like, really? Like, don't you sing this in the schoolyard? And they definitely don't. At times they are a changing. They definitely don't. In this chapter, she talks about inspiration for nursery rhyme and lullaby rugs. And she says, if your family has a favorite song or lullaby, use that as the start of a rug design. Include the words or images that quickly convey the meaning. So, musical notes and symbols work well in the border. This is one of Norma's suggestions. Popular lullabies like Rockabye Baby, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Hush Little Baby. Popular nursery rhymes like There Was an Old Woman Who Lived in a Shoe, Little Miss Muffet, Little Boy Blue, Baba Black Sheep, and popularized songs like The Wheels on the Bus, The Itsy Bitsy Spider, Maresy Dotes, Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And then she talks about copyright thoughts for lullabies. And this actually is quite useful. This isn't something we talk about, songs, right? Traditional lullabies have been handed down for generations and with many variations on the wording. That is true, isn't it? Because sometimes you're sitting next to somebody. Like I remember when the kids were young, we would do library group stuff, and we'd go and they'd have us sing a song, and I'd be singing it, and the person next to me would like put different words in, and I'm thinking, oh, they sing it different. Like they have, different, completely different lyrics. It's interesting. Um, they are not protected by copyright, so you may use the words. The same is true of nursery rhymes that originated hundreds of years ago. There are many current books of illustrated nursery rhymes. These illustrations are protected by copyright. Don't copy any image printed after 1923, but again, remember this book is from 2019, without permission from the publisher. Many children's songs being recorded by artists today also have been around for a long time. Do a quick Google search. So, so it's worth doing a Google search, but also remember, same thing as with art. If you, for example, start singing a song, right? This wouldn't be a rug thing, but if you start singing a song in the style of a specific artist, right, who recorded it that specific way, then you could be in trouble again. This is not rug hooking related, but it's worth saying, right? Because as soon as you visibly use something that's copyright free, like Lewis Carroll drawings, they are no longer copyright free because Disney's using them too. So, things like that are something that you have to bear in mind, just a little bit of research. Hey, Dave, stormy in Toronto, and you're inside with your coffee. Mm. Just catching up on the comments. So let's come back to Froggy. This got to be Froggy Goes a Courtin'. Froggy went a courtin', 14 by 18, wool on linen, designed by Norma, and hooked by Mary Lou Bleakley of Arland, Maryland in 2017. And she says, I hooked this rug for my great grand because my mother sang the song to me and I sang it to my children. My grandson had it played at his wedding and he sang it to his son. It was appropriate to hook the rug for his first child. The rug is based on an English ballad from the 1600s. It has been a popular song for Woody Guthrie, Pete Seeger, and Burl Ives. He's one of my favorites. There are several different endings to the song, with the most kid-friendly being the version made popular by Burl Ives. The Bleakley family has our own version. How funny is that? Changing out the words is always funny. How cute. I'm noticing other things in the book, like I didn't notice this, or I didn't photograph it. Humpty Dumpty. We all know Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. This was done by Kay Lazy, or Leasy, Leisey, of Mooresville, Pennsylvania. Hooked and designed by. Beautiful three-dimensional toy like that, right? Isn't that adorable? You see his glasses, like the specks kind of underneath resting on the nose. That is so well done. This reminds me, I have gosh, I wonder who did it now that I'm thinking about it. There are so many nice books from the 1920s about making stuffed animals. You get like Scotty dogs, and I know I've seen as like Humpty Dumpty, obviously a different one, but there's only so many egg shapes with legs, right? So it reminded me of it. Oh, look at how he has his hands on his head too, like, oh no, right? Things are not going well. And he's got a little yellow hair. It's like there's a little bit of yolk up there or something. I just had eggs this morning, so it's bringing up all kinds of funny thoughts. But yeah, interesting three-dimensional stuff as well as rugs in this book. So let's look at the next image. I'm a little teapot. That's another gem, isn't it? Um, I love the hooking in this piece. The teapot is obviously like a multicolored, like a printed wool, a printed woven. And on the table, sorry, I'm struggling. It was a bit of a stressful morning. On the table, some beautiful directional hooking. Now, this is a 21 by 20 wool on linen. It doesn't say the size, but it's got to be like an 8 or a 9. It looks quite big, the wide strips, right? And it does have a beautiful blue whipped border that is the same color as the blue border, so it hardly shows up. But I just love the blue teapot. Again, the blues to orange, right? That's always a good crossover because they're great complementary colors. Look at the let me stretch. Look at the flowers on the teapot, and also look at the smoke coming out of the teapot. Remember, this is a photograph of a photograph, so the quality is not super, but you can see that that rainbow kind of wool, the steam coming out, that is definitely that door wool that's like a complete rainbow color. Do you know what I mean? It's got kind of stripies, but it's also more like a herringbone design, and it's a full rainbow, red, orange, yellow, blue, purple, right? Really true rainbow. That's definitely that material. I recognize that. But look at the orange flowers on the teapot, because there's one, two, three. Looks like there's three different orange materials being used for each flower, and each petal repeats. But really, really beautiful. And also the handling of the text, right? Because the background is all swirly and directional and mottled. It looks like a very light blue and white mottled, right? So not solid. But I'm a little teapot. Each word done in a different color is super whimsical. Really, really brings the idea home, doesn't it? I also really like the border. It's almost like a cloudy thing, like it's a scallop, but it's cloudy. It's a bit 1940s looking. Very sweet, very quaint, really lovely. And you know, this is also a great piece for a kitchen, right? I'm a little teapot. So yeah, Baby and Beyond, also a great piece for a kitchen. This has got to be Hey Diddle Diddle. Hey Diddle Diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. That is a nice oldie. And this is done, this is 20 by 33 wool on linen, designed and hooked by Judy Quintman of Wilmington, North Carolina in 2009. Judy generously hooked this to celebrate a friend's first baby. The blue hit or miss blocks create a playful background and work well with the bold motifs of the cow and the moon. Oh, so let's talk about this for a second, because this is really clever. There's quite a few things. I'm just going to take a sip of water. I'm still struggling. There's quite a few things going on here that I think are useful for us to kind of dissect. So when you're approaching this kind of a design like Hey Diddle Diddle, right? There's a lot going on, and none of it's normal, right? The cat's, the spoon and the plate are off on some kind of a sordid affair. Kidding, but you know what I mean. It's a crazy rhyme, and the cow is jumping over the moon. It seems like when you look at a bit of text like this, that it could be overwhelming design wise. Maybe you're sketching every aspect of what's going on, and you need to sometimes remind yourself, yeah, I don't need it all. I just need bits and pieces, right? I don't need the epic, greatest hits. I just want everything bare bones, simple lines, pick a few things, stick with it, be happy. Because what's happening here is she's really just choosing two lines of the rhyme. The dish and the spoon are running away, which very sort of signature, but also obviously the cow jumping over the moon. It's simple, right? It's simple, but she has made it a lot more interesting by putting that hit or miss background in that almost looks log cabiny, but it's not really, is it? It's squares. It's squares with concentric hooking around or inside. I just want to catch what Juliet said. I have my baby quilt from my Oma and Opa in Germany. I learned German words early that way. A rug equivalent would be fun too. Oh, it's so great to have those things left over. The kids, their Oma is Dutch. They never knew their Opa on either side, but Oma is actually coming to visit in a couple of weeks. So they haven't seen her forever, which is really nice. She's a big quilter too, so she'll probably bring some quilted stuff for the kids or some stuff to animals. Those are such great memories and such great heirlooms. I did, Sharon. I did say sordid affair. I mean, it's so odd. Love the teapot. I love the teapot too, Karen. That's a great kitchen one. People are always writing and saying, "What can I make for the kitchen?" The little teapot. Make the little teapot. It'd be funny to make a little teapot. Now that I think about it, I'm going to come back to Hey Diddle Diddle, but it'd be fun to make a teapot because I remember when we were kids that we used to do like, I'm a little teapot, and then you do, here is my handle, here is my spout. Like, wouldn't it be funny to do a teapot that was like, had human arms and legs doing that? Because I think all children are forced to do that in gym class at a certain point. Maybe not anymore, but we were certainly forced to do it by the nuns. I mean, this was like the indignity of, it was fun though. It was fun. So just choosing a few motifs out of a lot of dense text is kind of a thing. And then putting in a background like this, yes, it's a busy background, but it's very easy to read, isn't it? It's just all blue, right? It's all blue. Your eye looks at it and it goes, got it. I got it. So then it starts looking for the motifs and there's two lines of verse. And since they're so familiar to everybody, it works well. The cow reminds me of what's that Scottish cartoon with the sheep, Shaun the Sheep, right? With the eyeballs like boyoyoing. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of crazy eyes, like there's something wrong, right? And then the nice black snout on the white face with the nostril holes in pink. I love this cow because he is so stylized. Absolutely so. It's not like your typical spotted cow at all. This is more like an Oreo cow that has color blocking, right? The Oreo ones, I think the black is on the outside. Not sure. Haven't seen one for a while. This is more of a simplified version of an Oreo cow with just the big block of color on the body and then the ears and the nose, right? And everything else is one color. Keeping it simple and very high impact. And the moon, out of everything in the rug, is really the most sort of articulated, really beautifully done. Shadows on the face. I like the underlip being defined and the bridge of the nose. The eyes are very alert, right? And they're very, what's the word? Like they have a lot of personality. The little round cheeks kind of shaped out in a little bit more of a pinky color. Really, really successful. Beautiful, draws you in. Much more sort of realism in that face than in the other characters, which is great because we've got a lot of different Wallace and Gromit. Yes, Judy, absolutely, same person. I think those are such funny shows. Do you remember Wallace and Gromit? Do you remember that news story? It was when Wallace and Gromit was out that the guy who created Wallace and Gromit, they were claymation characters, accidentally left them in the back seat of a taxi cab in New York City, like the originals, while he was going to a meeting to show them. He left them in the back seat and he actually got them back. I thought, oh my, that just makes me feel sick, because that is the kind of thing that would happen. You'd just be sick over it. But it was a happy ending, as we know, because it was a long series and fantastic. Kids of all ages. I also like how, if you look at the bottom of this composition, you see how the ground is done in one, two, three different colors of green, and then a repeat of the lighter one on the far right. I really like that too. I love the breaking down of color here. The color blocking quality of this piece is really clever. And then there is the hit or miss quality. These two things we usually don't see together, but they are both great ways of essentially doing hit or miss. Both, right? So we have the color blocked cow, we have the color blocked ground, we have a real hit or miss blue background, and there is hit or miss in the border as well. And the hit or miss is coming out like a pattern on the left hand side. I think so. I think it probably was begun at a certain point, and it probably is in a fade, like a drip, a dip fade. Not really an ombre because it's two different colors, but I think they probably started hooking it around the same place and it created this kind of flame pattern, which is very, very cool, that we kind of lose at the northeast. And that's still interesting, I think, because it changes and the eye travels right around with the introduction of that really bright yellow and orange. What a beautiful piece. Really, really different. Oh, Dave says, oh, Deanna, my public school days of teapot torture in gym class. Severe reprimands for improper spout formation. How do we ever survive? That is a great question. Susan, great to see you from Washington. Great to see you. That is a great question. How did we survive? I mean, all of the indignities of being a child. And I think about that a lot now that I'm a mom. I think about that a lot because when I think, particularly, in Catholic school, as much as I loved it, and I would not change that for the world. And I'm thinking a lot about putting my kids into private schools. But, you know, it was so rigid, wasn't it? It was so rigid. And there was not just with the cursive, and everything was very rigid. And stuff like that, the teapot and gym class in general. I mean, we did square dancing in gym class. That was really, really rough. But all of that, I guess it gives you, makes you resilient, gives you personality. And also that feeling, right? Because I think because of those days, I was able to go on to be a cabaret singer and to be a tour guide and to do this and to be in front of people sometimes. Because sometimes when I get up in a situation where where I might be daunted, I think, well, it ain't going to be as bad as like the teapot, right? Or the equivalent, right? Nothing is ever going to be as bad as that, as the square dance, right? Where no boy like wanted to touch me or any other girl. It's nothing's ever as bad as those days. So everything just seems a lot easier as an adult once you've coasted through those rough childhood days. But I try so hard to be thoughtful about how the kids want to look and act. Like they're not off their chains. Like they're super respectful, smart kids, and they're doing great. So I feel like things are going well. But the other day I said to Teddy, we need to cut your hair again because you're starting to look like a character from Hans Christian Andersen, right? Like the equivalent of the little match girl. And he was like, oh, really? And I thought, you know what? Why am I always on his case about cutting his hair? There are other kids who have long hair, right? We've seen this before. It's not my favorite, but like it's his head and he's 11. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe I should be asking more about what kind of t-shirts you want to wear, how you want your hair to look. Maybe I should be asking more questions about that because, you know, I'm like modeling a Barbie doll sometimes when I like dress the kids up and push them out the door. And maybe that's not fair, right? When you think about it. So, Sharon says, Dave, you're scarred for life. Oh, Judy says, Linda. Oh, wait a minute. I miss Linda Ann. I love Wallace and Gromit. Oh, so good, right? If you don't know those cartoons, you should watch them. They are so funny. There's very little speaking in them. It's mostly visual, but it is just so wonderful. Chapter 3 is about biblical stories and myths. So we get quite a few. We get one called And the Rain Comes Down. There's several examples of a Noah's Ark piece. This piece that we're looking at here is Noah's Ark Sampler. This was my favorite of the ones that I'm looking at. It's just so pretty, right? And it almost works as an illumination because there's different compartments to it. And I'll stretch this out for you too. But inside the central piece, it said, Noah sent forth a dove, and she came to him. In her mouth was an olive branch. And that, of course, is a reference to the part of the story where Noah is on the ark with the animals, right? And they send out a bird, and the fact that the bird comes back with the olive branch signifies that the world is no longer underwater. Otherwise, obviously, it would not be possible to pluck any kind of greenery from anything if the world is underwater. So that was a sign that it was over. So beautiful kind of moment, beautiful reference. A lot of text in this. Let's look at it a little bit closer up. This is designed by Holly Hill Designs and hooked by Jan Levitt of Monroe Township, New Jersey, 2013. Jan has a small collection of Noah's Ark pieces. She saw this iconic design and knew that she had to hook it. An inventive and artistic rug hooker, Jen always personalizes commercial patterns, as she should. Let's stretch this out a little bit. Look at what's going on here, because certainly there are many worlds within this one piece, and hence the word sampler, right? So brief overview, if we're looking at the center where the rainbow is, this has kind of a children's book quality to it, right? This is the main motif. This is the central picture. This is a very happy and hopeful scene, right? The animals have come off of the ark and they're back on terra firma, as Linda would say, and things are good, right? So, oops, wait a minute. Hold on, I'm trying to drag something and it shifted. Let's come back over here. And let me pull you out here. And let's look at this border around that central motif. Look at the postage stamp edge around that main motif too. How pretty, right? Like small scallops. How pretty. Now, a lot of greenery. Very cruel design, Cerwel, around that main motif, right? The plants kind of intertwining, wrapping, and it is a bit romantic, right? I always, when plants are kind of wrapped around each other, I always think about that passage from the play The Fantastics. Have you seen that? I mean, that's my all-time favorite musical, where it says like, you wonder how these things began. Well, this began with the moon. It began with the season. And then it says like, for want of a better word, we might as well call September where the woodchucks woo and leaves wax green and vines entwine like lovers. Oh, it's such a beautiful passage. It's such a beautiful play. It's a musical. But I feel like that with these vines, they are entwining like lovers, and there are pears in the tree, which is even prettier. It looks like there are not only pears, that there may be babies here too. So that is really beautiful, and I think appropriate, those twining vines and branches heading up and making this beautiful frame on this piece. It has that Jacobean look. Oh, Marilyn, that's okay. We're so glad you're there. Oh, moving to Gambia said, U.S. baby boomers had the best and worst of times during childhood. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So much fun. Don says my son kept his long hippie hair until he was 20. Then he cut it, and I almost cried. But it looks good short too, and it's his hair, not mine. Absolutely, absolutely. Right. I mean, yeah. I'm glad that I'm glad that I thought of that because yeah, I guess I've been controlling up to now. I love this outer frame. Are you seeing at the corners of the frame that very Macintosh style, super arts and crafts style floral? Right? Two little roses and two little petals sticking out. How cool is that? And that is absolutely awesome. Really smart. It's completely different, right? So far we are seeing like a very Jacobean design, the vines, right? Very Jacobean design, real classic children's book design in the center, right? Real storytelling kind of thrust. And down at the bottom, this looks to me almost like a Japanese woodcut. Another very different design. These really graphic foaming waves and the striation of color within the waves. We've got blue waves, light blue waves, dove blue, silver blue, navy blue, nebula blue, and then these dark streaks, right? And look at the sky on the bottom motif. The arc is beautiful too because it gives, sometimes we see an arc as kind of a cartoon arc and it's like what would fit in there, like four gerbils and a prairie dog. But this is like a moving city. Like this is hefty as a structure, and I think really really beautiful. I love the handling of this warm arc and these warm colors with this very, very rough sea, very turbulent, very dangerous, and in the sky, undecided clouds. Busy sky, not good. Undecided clouds, and then a repeat of the very arts and crafts floral in the bottom corners. Truly extraordinary and beautiful piece. Absolutely stunning. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so this is another of there's quite a few Noah's Arks. This is a beautiful primitive one with some very, very pronounced directional hooking. Look at the wool that's been used in this one, right? And it's worth saying there are many kinds of wool that can be patterned wool, but if you are not a person who's experimenting with dyeing yet, we'll get there after the show. I promise we'll do some dyeing stuff. There are lots of different kinds of wool, right? And I'll just do this quick. But when you drop your wool into your pot, if you stir it and agitate it as it goes, it will come out solid, right? Because you're agitating, the dye is attaching to the wool evenly because you're keeping it on the move. It's on the move, right? It's all agitated, you're stirring. If you just have the same pot and you just throw in a ball of wool and leave it there, it's going to come out mottled and uneven because the dye is going to find its way to different surfaces that are more readily available than others, and it's going to come out the one color but very uneven, and that's called mottled, and that's very cool. And then there's things you can do, spot dyeing, by applying colors, different colors or more of the same color, usually different colors with different kinds of tools, right? Bottles or syringes or droppers or whatever, just straight powder, snow, whatever. So you're adding color that way. And then there's other things like I did the class in tie-dye wool, right? That really cool when you're going for really crazy effects. When we're looking at a piece like this could be either the dip dye, like we saw in the last one, is when sometimes called coat hanger dyeing in Pearl McGowan's day. And in that case, you're just draping like a strip of wool over the wire coat hanger. If you have the kind of hood or whatever on your stove or a cabinet with a little knob that you can hook the coat hanger to, and almost like a pulley, you're pulling it pretty evenly and steadily so that one end of it is almost blank, bare, white, or whatever color you started with. And as it comes out of the pot, kind of levering it out, the pulley system, it's being dipped, right? It's dipped and you're undipping it, and it comes out with a super gradual fade That's dipped. So to me, and this is subjective because I don't know, but it looks like the wool in here has either been dipped or is mottled. It's very hard to tell because there seems to be a pattern of light to gray to blue, and that makes me think it's more dipped because it seems to be so sort of regulated. It doesn't seem like a random mottling or spot dyeing. Susan says, being a newbie to rug hooking, I am so amazed with these details. Me too, Susan. Me too. And I've been at it for what, 10, 12 years, but I hardly ever hook anymore. And it's amazing to me too. I think to a lot of us it's amazing because it's just great, isn't it? It's just great. There's so much happening in this piece. It's a very busy piece. Um, just a lovely piece. I didn't even say who it's by yet. Ellen Savage, Northern Noah. And this is 33 by 30 wool on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Ellen, and she's in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And she says of this piece, these animals were quite challenging, right? We believe it, right, Susan? These animals would be. I mean, there's crazy animals here: puffins, moose. Moose is plural, right? Polar bear, deer. Some of them are hard to recognize: Canada geese, skunks, owls. And there's the dove in the sky with the olive branch too. So that's a great symbol. Two dolphins dancing at the top of the water, right? Lots of animals, super challenging. And she wants them to be identifiable, which there's bunnies. You see, there's bunnies coming right, I think, out of or into the boat. Um, they are all native to North America. The many different shapes and colors, as well as arranging each animal in the right position, kept this rug interesting to hook. Mr. and Mrs. Noah were fun to hook too. They are down at the bottom left. So Mrs. Noah is looking toward us, and it looks like Noah himself is looking at the procession of animals. There's also the female and the male cardinal on the bottom tree branch. I mean, it is really an exquisite piece. I think there are two polar bears there, but one of them is shadowed behind the other. I see gazelles on the right, rats right to the left of the gazelles. And then foxes. So I think that's it. I think those are the animals in this piece. Absolutely beautiful piece. Absolutely beautiful. It could be that the sky, when I'm looking at it closer up, it could be the sky is ombre, because it does have a real slightly pixelated quality to it. Like there was, um, the wool was not random, right? It was not randomly colored. Interesting. Sharon says, I'd like to throw a skein of unsoaked yarn into the dye pot with one color, wait for it to exhaust, then reskein and repeat a couple more colors, um, a couple more times with different colors. I like to do that too. I've been doing that a lot. I wish I had the one handy that I just did the other day. Sometimes I do that when the pots have exhausted. And for example, I'm doing a swatch set like I have been doing. Make some that are out of stock, right? Replacing them and sending them out. And sometimes I've put too much color in, and I see that the wool is exactly the color that I need for that swatch set, and I pull it right out. And then there's still so much dye in the water, and I'm so scrimp and savvy that I'm like, I've got to use it for something, right? It's almost like I'm going to take my shirt off and just, I mean, it's crazy the way that I get when I'm trying to use up dye, and it's like sometimes it's such a small amount, but sometimes when that happens, I grab a skein and I put it in, and like you're saying, Sharon, sometimes I drape the tail of it over like a spoon, so not all of it's in, and I let that soak it up and exhaust. And then if I find in the process of dyeing with the other pots that you can do this with wool too. It doesn't have to be yarn. I'll do the same thing, and I'll put it in, and I'll let like a different corner touch. Or if they're colors that seem to go together, I'll let it just sit in there and soak. And then you end up with a color that would be impossible to repeat, but a lot of fun to play with. So I did that the other day, and the skein came out so beautiful. It was like salmon, like wood rose, and like all of these colors of like cushion gold nugget to like a yellow. They're not my colors. The pinks are. But it came out so beautiful together. And I thought, well, good, because I have some extra wool too. And since I'm using colors that are in the swatch set, these colors are already married together, right? Because I'm pulling them from the same color. So if, for example, I wanted to whip stitch a border, that yarn would be perfect because I used it from the tail end of a bunch of different colors in that swatch set. So interesting. Marilyn says, I love the animals. Oh, I know. They are too cute. They are too cute. All right, let's do a couple more. I was late, so I'm going to keep on going. Oh, this is nice. This must be, oh, okay, so this is part of the artist statement. So artist statement, Sherilyn Brubaker, and it says Jack's Totem Family, 25 by 28, hand dyed and as is wool on linen, designed and hooked by Sherilyn Brubaker of Brunswick, Maine, 2018. And it says because Jack's Totem Family is a children's rug, the design and colors chosen were paramount. In researching totem art, I was very drawn to the Pacific Northwest coast formline designs. They are beautiful and mostly red, black, and white. The designs are also very scary. They are quite fierce with lots of teeth and sharp claws. Some of the animals are very abstract. Their elements have been taken apart and rearranged. I spent many hours designing my totems from copyright-free images and photos and redrawing them in a form line inspired design that is hookable and friendly. My initial drawings were pretty fussy and colored in red, black, and white. Perhaps these will be enlarged and hooked later. The totems I used on the mat design are simplified. So it goes on to talk more about this, but interesting to know how it starts and what the process is. This is a great design, and I have to say I do when I see things red, white, and red and black. It's very, very graphic, isn't it? It's very, very 80s. It's also very flannel. Different kinds of associations there, I think, for different people. But when I see red and black, it strikes me as very 80s, very graphic, very Swatch Watch, very Duran Duran. I mean, it's just, it's very limited, isn't it? It has a real pop feel to it. These are certainly more traditional rug hooking colors, and there's more variety here. I just love this. There's a lot of variety here. So she simplified the design, and this is obviously a name-driven piece. It's for Jack. And beautiful birch trees on the side. Look at how many greens went into putting these leaves on the trees. Really great, isn't it? And they're very different greens to the blue. It's nice that the blue is very controlled, right? There are different shades of blue there, but it's pretty much, it could be one shade that we were just talking about, like modeled. It could be dark, light, and lightest, right, from one shade, with the exception of the splashes around that bottom, the fish, right? I think it could all be one material and just strategic use of darker and lighter. That's possible. I love the little colored diamonds in between the letters of Jack, right? It has a playful look, right? It has a sort of 1940s kind of look as well. It's very cottagey. It's very sweet. It's also really artistic. The birds and the fish are very artistic. I love the color choices. I love the warm colors in the three creatures versus the cool blue in the background. I love the many colors of green, how it goes from super dark to very light, to like a yellow green, like light and bright. Really beautiful. The feathers of both birds are quite decorative over realistic, right? They do have that totem quality. And the fish as well, right? With the polka dots and the stripies, right? The underbelly is completely different. The fish has been outlined. It doesn't look like the other two characters have to, do you? And you don't have to do, once you outline one character, you don't have to outline all. So interesting. It's just always interesting to see choices that each different artist is making. Notice at the bottom, what's really anchoring this piece between the two trees is that splash of dark water at the bottom. And that kind of sets the stage from the ground up for the movement of waves, right? And it is a bit symmetrical. We are kind of seeing a pattern in that bottom border. And I really like how that bottom border is so splashy and organic. And the other three, the proscenium sides, top and sides, are rigid, just black. It's much more playful that way. If you cover that with your hands and you don't look at the bottom border, it looks much more formal. And then when you take your hand away and you see that that bottom border has this really water flowy, splashy quality to it, you realize how much that's furthering the feel of the design, right? The jumping fish, right? The action of the animals. They're in the wild. One of them is rooted to a branch. The other one is just taking off. Fish is jumping. Maybe the bird is going to go for the fish. It's exciting. There's a lot going on. The salmon is great. I guess that is a salmon, huh? That is really great. And color blocked too. Very, very piecey, very graphic. Really, really lovely. Oh, this looks like a hopscotch piece. So I'm moving out of the, I think this is still the Bible and Myth chapter. And I might have shot by the, sorry, spam risk. I think I shot by the 3D chapter, and I'm not sure why, but let me just give you a quick glimpse of that because there are some beautiful puppets. This whole page is hooked on puppets. I'll have to show this to my friend Kim, who's a puppeteer. I mean, how great are those? Those really are so sweet. So, you know, the kids are constantly asking me to make puppets for them. It would actually be really good to make rug hooked puppets because when I do stuff with sewing, it's so like labor intensive. And when I look at the kind of detail that you're getting with the face on here, I'm thinking, gosh, would it just be easier to hook it than to be like shopping for all those different colors of material and different color threads so that everything matches? I'm thinking it might actually be easier. Oh, look at the pig. He's got a little ring in his nose. What a little cutie, huh? So, and little button eyes. Those are like little shoe button eyes. Um, that's a cool piece. So that whole chapter of three-dimensional stuff, very exciting as well. And then we are moving to, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Nope, I got to show you this. Holy mackerel. Okay, wait till you see this. This isn't for everyone, but this is really different. Sharon, oh, right, to hook a puppet or a mask. Yeah, absolutely. That really inspired me because I have to admit I'm not big on three-dimensional stuff with hooking because I'm thinking about, I hate to say it, but even with a lot of purses, they come undone on the sides easily, right? Because wovens are hard to sew. You got to make sure they are sewed so well because they will want to fall apart, right? They are wovens, right? Um, but yeah, those puppets inspired me for sure too. Wait till you see this artist statement. So this is by Chris McDermott. I feel like we looked at something by Chris McDermott in the last book. Maybe we did. And I'm gonna show you what it is first, and then I'll read to you about it. This is cotton baby ball made by Victoria Simpson and owned by Norma, right, who wrote the book. And this is what the baby ball looks like. So it's one of these. I can see it's not in focus. Hang on. It's one of these hexagon balls, right? And if you're a quilter, you've already seen these. It's a bunch of hexagon pieces like a soccer ball. And and then there are these. Oh baby, 18-inch diameter wool on linen. So this is one ball. It's one ball, different views. Designed and hooked and braided by Chris McDermott of Dummerstown, Vermont. We have definitely seen Chris's work. 2016. Look at this. And you see the braiding is connecting it. I think that is super smart. I'm a dum-dum who initially thought there were three, but there's not. It's the one. And done up like that with the braiding. Isn't that fantastic? And she says, I hooked, well, first it says, my friend Vicki Simpson of Bath, Maine makes beautiful and meaningful baby balls to celebrate the birth of her friends, children, and now grandchildren. She has an amazing collection of cotton fabrics with such a variety of themes pictured on the material, because these are great as like I Spy items too for a little one, right? Like just really different prints to catch the eye and focus on things and identify shapes. Um, because I like collaborative projects, I asked Vicki to make a baby ball with her favorite fabrics. She picked themes that included music for her husband Hank, who plays the trumpet, son John, who lived in Tokyo, daughter Julia, who loves elephants, cactus for her time in Tucson, kids holding hands for our long friendship, a snow scene for the dramatic Maine winters, a sailboat, and other personal stories. I adapted all the designs to make them my memories too. In 2016, the Green Mountain Rug Hooking Guild Challenge was to hook a piece for a child, and that is how Oh Baby was born. Oh, interesting. You wonder how these things began. I'm so happy that Norma's grandchildren are now playing with this giant ball. And of this piece that Chris hooked, she said, I hooked this piece as part of a challenge to hook a three-dimensional piece. It was modeled after the fabric balls that young children play with, and it has a bell inside. Aww. The challenge of this piece was to get each section just the right size so that everything would fit when sewed together. After the show, I gave the ball to Norma for her grandchildren. Fantastic. Fantastic. I just was wondering if I could find, remember I had those braided balls here. I wonder if they're different. But it'd be so great if I could find one. Let's see. I'm wondering if they literally rolled off the mantle and onto the floor. Yeah, they probably did. I got them at an antique store, but they are not antiques. I'm moving around like an old woman right now. I'll find them and show them to you later. They were just, the whole thing was braided. Oh, thank you. Perfect. Like this. Right, so there's a smaller one too. It's driving me crazy because I know it probably rolled. But yeah, these are beautiful too. If you're a traditional braider, this wouldn't work with a multi-strand, right? Because you need an actual braid to shape. It must be around some kind of a, I don't think it's a styrofoam ball. To be honest, I don't know what it is, and I never want to take it apart. But you can see how it's put together, right? Is seeing how it's put together helpful? To a certain extent, thank you. Only to a certain extent because it still looks very painful, doesn't it, to put together? I mean, even for someone with me with a degree in sewing, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would want this project, but it is super cute. They were expensive, so I feel like they must have. It's like purple up here, like a lilac purple, and this is the smaller one. So cute, right? I have them in kind of bowls, you know. I don't know what I, because sometimes when you are braiding traditional braid, like you have some left over or whatever, and you don't know what to do with it, or you find a rug at an antique store that's falling apart, and maybe it didn't lay flat to begin with, maybe it buckled to begin with. So those are good instances to just grab the braid and do something with the braid, right? So I'll put them here for now. My treasures. Colleen, I have your treasure here too. All my treasures, Robin's birthday thing. So I might leave it there today. I am still in a little bit of pain. I hope it goes away at some point with my throat. And we do have quite a bit more to look at because we're right on the threshold of the next chapter that is called Games We Play. So, you know, that's going to be fun. Yeah, that is actually a really interesting looking chapter. So we'll pick that up. We're going to pick that up on Wednesday, though. So I'll remind you if you joined us later in the episode, I'll remind you Friday night is gallery night. So I have a lot of stuff for gallery night. You're welcome to send things in if you'd like to. I'll run gallery night for however long it goes. It's hard to say. Friday, Easter weekend, right? It's Good Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will run gallery night. And then I will be with you live. I can't give you the details because it's a free flowing thing when I meet with Pierre on Monday and we start putting up the show with the Van Gogh rugs and the storytelling rugs. I'll be doing that at the Charter Oak Cultural Center. And then the opening will be the following Sunday from 4 to 6. The party is 4 to 6. And go on the Charter Oak Cultural Center website, Hartford, Connecticut, because you do need to get tickets, right? It's not a huge place, and there's an event going on upstairs. There's a band, there's food, there's drinks, right? It's fun. It's a proper party. So I will certainly be there. And yeah, so then we will run, and then Tuesday will be the Hook In with Kirsten, the live Hook In that everybody's very welcome to. And on Wednesday, I will be with you for the conclusion of this book, Hooked Rug Designs for Baby and Beyond by Norma Battistini. And if you would like to enter the drawing for this book, send an email to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. In the tagline, just do baby book. And in the body of the email, tell me what was your favorite treat as a child and give me your name and address so that we don't have to struggle for it, you know, when we pick the winner. So that will be a week from today, next Wednesday. You have a week to get that to me. And then I will do the randomized thing again for however many people entered. And we will pull the names up in terms of the order that the email came out in. So it'll work the same way it did last time. So make sure that you enter if you don't have this book. It is surprisingly great. I thought it was more of a niche book that, you know, is really a sort of limited range of projects. It's not. As you can see, it's phenomenally broad and really a beautiful and inspiring book. So I will see you on Friday and have a great tomorrow. In the meantime, and the splash pattern around the fish was nice too. Absolutely. Definitely need to purchase that book. We'll try first to win it. Susan, try first to win it and see what happens. I will see you on Friday. Have a great tomorrow. And if you need me or you're going to send me something or enter the contest,